Hi everyone, I'm Emma and I want to talk to you about everything that I read in January. I feel like I read quite a lot for me and I read some really good books, so I'm looking forward to telling you all about them. So the first book that I read is This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I'd seen people talking about what a good book this is, and so I decided to pick up a copy for myself, so it's like a present to myself. And this is, as it says on the front, Secret Diaries of a Junior Doctor. So it goes through from when Adam qualified as a doctor through his career. He worked in obstetrics and gynecology, which is part of why I was interested in reading this book. If you're new to this channel, then you might not know I've written a book about breastfeeding called Milk, the links are below. And so one of my areas of interest is sort of pregnancy and birth and breastfeeding and parenting and all that kind of thing. And I've got 3 kids. And so, you know, I have been, I guess, on the receiving end of some of those experiences. You know, I've given birth 3 times. And the book goes, I think when it starts, it's a lot more light-hearted and kind of the gallows humour and the funny stories and all of that. And then as it goes on, it gets more and more serious of looking at the realities of the hard shifts and the way that working in medicine can't help but bleed into your personal life, that you take your work home with you and dealing with the things that you do during the day and then going home and trying to live a normal life. I felt like it gave such an empathy of what living in that kind of environment, or working, in that kind of environment would be like. And it really made me feel just how much people working within the NHS and under these enormous pressures, just what absolute heroes they are. And I absolutely love this. I mean, it was a real page turner. If you work in a medical setting, or even just if you have ever seen a doctor, I just really think everybody would enjoy this. There were about 2 pages that I objected to, just again because of the nature of what I'm interested in and because I'm kind of into natural parenting and natural birth, and much as I absolutely believe in everybody's right to do what they feel comfortable with, but I believe in the right to have those options, and you know, I understand the science behind kind of the hormonal flow of being relaxed and in a comfortable environment and all that kind of thing, without going into it in too much detail. And there are some references in here to, like, you know, why would anybody have home birth? Why would you be so far away from medical care and put yourself at that kind of risk? And it's kind of derisive of like it being a bit of a hippie movement. And I absolutely understand in context why it's like that, because if you you see the worst cases of mothers in danger, you know, and you're stopping awful hemorrhages and, you know, you're very much seeing the worst, you know, you wouldn't understand why a mother might choose not to have access, like immediate access to the emergency medical care for that kind of thing. Whereas to me, I see those things as generally you can get to the hospital on time, and there are other factors at play, and you reduce the risk of some of those things by birthing in a comfortable environment, whatever that is. For some people that is hospital. So yeah, it wasn't a big deal for me, because in context I absolutely understood it, and I would understand why Adam would feel like that, and it was interesting seeing that argument. But I suppose it's that moment where you're sort of jarred out of the book and kind of go, oh, I don't know, there is an argument for home birth actually. But yeah, nonetheless, as I say, totally understandable, and it was a brilliant book. Thoroughly recommend. I gave this 5 stars. Next book I read, my husband bought me this for Christmas. This is Part of Your World by Liz Braswell, and this is part of the Twisted Tale Disney series. And I saw these in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, I don't know, some supermarket, and I'm not like a massive Disney fan. I do like Disney, and I've been to Disney World Land, the LA one, I don't know, a couple of times. And like I've watched most of the films and my kids like them, etc, etc, but I'm not like crazy into it, you know, I'm not like constantly watching Disney vlogs and things like that. But I enjoy it. But my favourite Disney is The Little Mermaid, maybe Mary Poppins, but cartoon one is The Little Mermaid. And I like the idea of turning the story around. So the concept of this is, what if Ariel had not defeated Ursula, and so Ursula had married Eric, and King Triton is still like a weirdy little wormy guy, you know, what then? And I really enjoyed being in that world for a book, you know, and obviously you spend more time in a book than you do on a programme, and also being able to get more about these characters, about you know, I mean, for instance, it talks about the fact that mermaids aren't half fish, they're half god, and I thought that was interesting, and looking at some more in depth at the relationship between the different characters was really, really fun. I felt at times I didn't love the writing. I felt that some of the characters didn't quite speak the way that I felt they did, they would, and sometimes I don't know, it just felt uncomfortable. It felt, and I think sometimes it felt like it went on too long. And personally, I felt like there were certain sections that could have just been a lot shorter, and then the book should have carried on a bit longer at the end, because I felt like not everything had been tied up, and I wanted to know more about, okay, yes, things have come to a conclusion, but then what? They're just, yeah. But I gave this 3.5 stars because, I didn't totally love the actual story and the way it was told. I mean, it was good, but yeah, I didn't love it, but I did love being in that world. So if you are a Disney fan, I don't know what the others in this series are like, I think they're worth checking out. It was fun, and I definitely would read it again because I enjoyed reading it, I enjoyed being in that world. So yeah, you know, fun. Let's put them up there, wasn't I? I'm going to forget each time. Okay, next was a reread. I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying by Marie Kondo. This I read 2 years ago. I made a video already reviewing this, so I'm not going to go into it in masses of detail. There's a series out that Marie Kondo has made where she's working with families and sorting their homes out, and I'd watched a few episodes of that, and I felt like rereading the book. I have massively redone our house and kind of tidied up loads of stuff, and I talked in my video before about how that has helped me in letting go of possessions, has helped me to let go of things in other aspects of my life and just be more, I suppose, ruthless with what's important to me, what does make me happy, what does spark joy, and what I can let go of, and just be thankful that it's been a part of my life, or that I've had an opportunity, and then let it go. And that for me, that's meant that I've ended up writing a book, and so, well, I'd already started writing the book, but publishing a book, and then working on future books, and quitting my job as a teacher, and I mean lots of other things besides, but those are the big things. So for me, this book had a massive impact on my life. It's a bit of a funny read because Marie kind of anthropomorphises objects a little bit, but then you can understand that, so I've already said in the other video, but that she comes from a sort of Shinto background, so you can understand why she does that. And I actually think it's interesting to think of your possessions in that way and think, well, I shouldn't mistreat things and just kind of leave them, you know, lurking at the back of a drawer. And it really has made me reevaluate that if I have something just in case, or I'm holding on to something but I'm not taking care of it, or I've forgotten it's there, then why have I got it? And it does just help you to kind of know where everything is, organise everything, but as I say, it does also kind of change your mindset. So if you're feeling disorganised and all over the place, but not just in your stuff, but in your mindset, I really recommend giving it a go. I know for some, her voice in this may be irritating. I personally really liked it. It's a really quick read. I read this in a couple of hours because actually there's not masses of text on each page. It's quite widely spaced, and it's a very easy read. But yeah, worth a go, I think, if you feel like things are getting on top of you. For me, this is a 5-star read because of just the massive effect it's had on me. Yeah, loved it. And it was worth a reread. I feel like I got something from it the second time, so that's good. Next, is this one, Mythos by Stephen Fry. I picked this up in a charity shop because I thought it looked interesting. I have read another Stephen Fry book and I can't remember what it was, but I didn't get on with it. It was years ago I read it, and I haven't read any of his other books since. But I spent a bit of time in Greece. I spent the summer there, and I am interested in kind of Greek history, and obviously a big part of that is the Greek myths, and I feel like I don't know an awful lot about it. So yeah, that's why I picked the book up. And essentially this goes from creation all the way through many of the myths of the gods, and I really enjoyed it. It's I felt like it made it all understandable and accessible, and kind of all just put it in one place in a way that's readable. It's really well written, but the thing that I really enjoyed about it is that there are references to, it kind of relates a story to maybe how that story explains a phenomenon like the seasons, or why a bee has a sting, or whatever. And then, but even better, it also explains word roots. So it'll talk about a particular name of a god or a particular story, and then it will have a note saying, of course, this is where we get this word and this word. And from somebody who loves books and loves words, that was really enjoyable. So the only downside for me was I did get to a point towards the end of it where I felt like I kind of lost the thread with a couple of the kind of relationships through the gods, and I think it just got too much. I wonder if this would be better to dip in and out of, because I think maybe the last sort of 50 or 100 pages I wasn't as into it and had just stopped caring a little bit. But that aside, you know, it's just quite long, and I think I really enjoyed it, but maybe should have broken it up a little bit instead of just ploughing through it in one go. But it is good. If you're interested in Greek myths, it definitely does make it very accessible, and I learned loads from reading this. So loved that as well. I gave that 4 stars. Follow me on Goodreads, by the way, if you would like to. The links are below. Then I read Wonder. I saw this in a charity shop. Again, I'd seen it on like Bookstagram and thought I'd pick it up. Didn't really know a great deal about it. This is by RJ Palacio. Don't know if I've said that right. Concept of this book is that it's about a boy who has like facial disfigurement due to I think 2 genetic conditions that have worked together to mean that he's got various issues with his face, and then he's got a place at school, and so it's about him preparing and then going to school, because he's been home educated up to then, and then examining the relationships that he has with his schoolmates and his family and everything that kind of happens as a result of him going to school. I really felt, as someone who's an ex-teacher and I worked with this kind of age group, that the way that it portrayed how young people interact with one another was just really spot on, in kind of their mannerisms and the way that they spark off each other. And I don't know, it was very realistic. And I thought it was an interesting way of examining, you know, the concept of kindness and how we treat each other, but also about how we react to just what we see on the surface. I personally kind of didn't really like how it ended. I felt like it, obviously I don't want to give spoilers, but that, I don't know, I felt like there was one character who's quite a significant character that just suddenly becomes insignificant, and I felt like that needed more. And I often feel with these kinds of books that a lot of the characters, it's like they suddenly have like a change, that they're suddenly nice, or they're suddenly, and you just think, well, are people like that? I sometimes think that, you know, it started off with all this massive complexity, and then I don't know if that kind of got slightly lost at the end, but only in a tiny way. That's why I'm finding it hard to express, because actually I really enjoyed this book and I thought it was really interesting, and I gave it 4 stars. So this, you know, it is me kind of being, I suppose, picky. I definitely think this is readable by all kinds of ages as well, which is great. But I'd be interested to know what other people thought in the comments, just about kind of the way that the book finished, and did you feel that it was... I just felt like I wasn't excited by it, I suppose that's the thing. And since I'd really enjoyed the beginning of the book, it was like, yeah, but it was still good. It was good, it just, I don't know, it just didn't quite tick all the boxes for me. And I can't really put my finger on why. Anyway, as I say, 4 stars, it is really, really good. I would recommend it. But there we are. Then the last book that I read this month, I actually finished this on the 1st of February, so I suppose I'm cheating a little bit, but it needs to go back to the library, so you know. This was our book club read for January. Actually, well, we got 2 books in one go, but this is one that I read this month. And this is called Friend Request, and it's by Laura Marshall. And this is her first book, and it's a thriller. And the concept of this is that the main character, who's called Louise, gets a friend request from a girl called Maria, but Maria died when she was a teenager. So then kind of the plot involves of, is Maria dead or not? If she's sending a friend request, is somebody posing as Maria? And then throughout the book it hints at kind of a dark past, and that there's more to it than you think, and all this kind of stuff. The way I felt about this book was I liked the writing. I thought it was very suspenseful. Because it's centred around social media, it's also very believable that these things kind of could happen. But there was just one section of it, again I can't say too much without spoilers, but where I felt like it got a bit, like it reminded me of something like a Point Horror or a Goosebumps, but only for just a short section of it. And then other than that, it was just very suspenseful and very, very well written. There's also, I didn't see the conclusion coming, which is always good. But yeah, as a thriller, it was good. I'd give it 4 stars as well. So, I mean, really, all of these books were really good, really enjoyable. I'd be interested to know what you thought of any of them and what you've been reading this month. So please do leave me a comment, and please like if you did, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos about reading and about writing. I'll see you all for my next one. Bye!